Happy, happy Halloween, Halloween, Halloween. Happy, happy Halloween, Silver Shamrock. Happy, happy Halloween, Halloween, Halloween. Happy, happy Halloween, Silver Shamrock.
All right, man. We're back recording here with our third episode of our Two Brothers podcast. My name's Ethan. That's my brother Dylan. And today we're sticking with the spooky season here as it does come to an end with the end of October. And we're going to be talking about a movie that I watched yesterday for the first time, but you are pretty familiar with, something that you watch pretty regularly. And I'm excited to talk about it. But before we get into that, how was your week, sir? How you doing? How you feeling?
The week is good. Just the usual, just at work every day. Sorry if I look a little tired. Woke up very, very early this morning, but I got my coffee now, so I'm all good. Yeah, just kind of just working, same old week. Buckeyes got a huge win last night. It was sloppy, but good. Browns play later on today. So honestly, the week's going really good right now, but today could either end it with a bang or ruin it forever. So going past that, how was your week, man? How's life
My week
treating
wasn't
you in
too
the
bad.
past 7 days?
I was pretty busy at work. We picked up a lot at the hotel that I work at, so we were pretty busy. I picked up a couple extra shifts, which is good because obviously this is
Mhm.
rent week for all my people that pay
Yep.
rent. We all know
This
what
is
time it is.
it's rent week for me as well. Yep. So this paycheck basically doesn't exist.
But no, I'm really excited to record this one. A little bit more excited than I was for the last episode, just because now I get to actually take advantage of the quality of my new mic. I've got a new setup
hmm
here. I'm recording in my apartment finally. I got a
hmm
desk that I was able to kind of get my whole little setup going, which I didn't have before. That's the only reason why I was going down to the office to record in the first place. But now I got a little bit more invested into my setup here, so
You have
pretty
a
excited.
studio setting now.
Yeah, I'm trying to get more into the consistency of the quality. So I'm really excited.
Right.
I'm really
Right.
excited.
Yeah, and I'm excited for this one too because I'm a huge Halloween holiday fan, and that's why I can't wait for even the upcoming holidays of Thanksgiving and Christmas. The content we're going to bring with that, it's going to be incredible. But before we get started, if you enjoy this content, obviously like and subscribe, spread it to your friends, spread it to the coworker that you don't like if you have to. We're just two brothers just making some content, just recording our conversations and stuff. And we're just regular
And
guys. We
we
don't
are
really know what we're
now
doing.
we are live on TikTok now. I
Yeah,
spent
on TikTok.
many hours setting up that TikTok page, so I'll make sure to
Yep.
link that.
Yeah, we'll link it in the description and everything, just like we do with everything else. But this is our second Halloween episode this month. We just figured that with this being the week of Halloween, with today being October 29th, we figured, we do a Halloween themed episode. It's only right that we do so, which is why we have the nice little backdrop here that Ethan provided. And today we're going to be talking about a movie, Halloween 3, The Night Michael Myers Did Not Come Home. Nah,
hmm
Halloween 3,
The
Season of the Witch.
the weird
And
one, the one everybody forgets about, I guess.
yeah, the redheaded stepchild, for lack of a better phrase. And this is a movie that kind of like what he mentioned earlier that I have watched. It's like a yearly staple in our household. We watch it every Halloween. Kind of a hidden gem. I a couple years ago wanted to watch the entire Halloween franchise. And if you don't know, Halloween is the franchise of Michael Myers. And I realized that a lot of people, when they talk about Halloween, they go 1, 2, skip 3, and
They
go to 4.
completely skip 3,
Yeah, and
completely.
go straight to 4. And I'm like, all right, I'm seeing Halloween 4, the return of Michael Myers, but I'm like, but where did he go? Like, what's number 3? And then I
Right.
find out after doing some small research because this is from the '80s, so it is an older movie, and it's like there's no Michael Myers at all. It's just a side movie, still by John Carpenter though, but because John Carpenter wanted to originally be an anthology movie series just based around the Halloween time period. So the first two movies, Halloween 1 and 2, have Michael Myers, and then this one is just a different horror story just around Halloween time. So I watched it after seeing that people hated it, and I loved it. I fell in love with it. It is currently the only, because I collect physical media, so I have a whole bunch of Blu-rays, and it is currently the only 4K Blu-ray that I own in my collection. It is the only one, and that's how much I like this movie. So
Really?
yes, but yeah, we just figured that we would kind of talk about the movie a little bit because
We'll
it
shed some light on
gets
it.
I definitely feel like it's loved more now than it was maybe 10 years ago.
Hmm.
But yeah, so I kind of told Ethan you got to watch it. Just watch it once and see what you feel about it. So, we're just going to talk about that today.
Yeah. So I will say though, I did like the movie. I don't think I like it as much as the original Halloween
Right.
because one thing for me that I was kind of expecting it to be more of was scary. I thought it was gonna be more of a
Hmm.
scarier movie, but it's not. The movie is not scary really. It's
Hmm.
more about the concept around it that's what makes it entertaining. You're not gonna go here and you're not gonna have nightmares about this movie.
Hmm.
Okay. Except
Maybe
I
as
don't
a
know, whenever
small
he was
child.
yeah, as a small child you can because like that's pretty scary for a kid
Right.
to
Because
put
every kid
their
goes to the store and buys a Halloween mask, but you don't think it's going
Mhm.
to kill you. You know what I
Yeah,
mean?
right. So, but the scariest part of the movie for me was at the end when he was staring directly at the camera, screaming at us. That was really unsettling for me. But that's
Right.
probably the only really unsettling part for the movie. But I think that John Carpenter trying to make it an anthology series is something that could have taken off if he didn't create Halloween at the time that he made it, because obviously the
Yeah.
timing that it was made was the height of the slasher genre. Like that's the late 70s, early 80s is when that was at its like peak. You know what I mean? Everybody
Hmm.
loved that.
Yep.
So really, if he would have made the movie or made that concept maybe like in the 90s or the early 2000s or whatever the case is, if that was kind of brought up as an anthology, that probably would have stuck. But obviously,
Yeah.
with all slashers at that time, there's I don't even know how many Halloween movies there are. There's probably like 9 or maybe 10
Nah, there's like
now with the
13 of
new
them, man.
one. Okay, I was thought I was highballing, but apparently I was not.
No, there's like 12 or
So,
13 of them. And I agree. I think it definitely could have done something because, like, let's be real, John Carpenter. I mean, we're talking, obviously original Halloween, The Thing, 1982, which is considered one of the greatest horror movies of all time. Obviously, John Carpenter, he knows what to do, like what he's doing when he makes movies. Because the thing about this movie is it doesn't have Michael Myers, but it's still it's still a good movie. Has a great score, and it's still well made. Like it could be a standalone movie on its own, not
mhm,
part of a
yeah,
franchise, and be just fine. I think that if he wouldn't have made a Michael Myers sequel, I do think it could have taken off because what happened was you made, Halloween, and then because of the amount of money you got and the amount of positive praise you get from it, you went ahead and greenlit a sequel, which ended up having Michael Myers, a direct sequel to the first movie. It literally takes place the same night as the first movie. And
mhm,
I think what happens is now you have two movies with the title Halloween with the guy with the mask, Michael Myers, and now you come out with a third movie with the same title, and you're claiming it's part of the same franchise, but you don't have Michael Myers in it. And I
mhm.
think that now that you already have two movies, you make a third without him. People were upset about that. I mean, I remember reading about people saying that the marketing was even kind of misleading. Like they never really mentioned that Michael Myers wasn't in it.
Mhm. They
They
just
kind
kind
of
of
made it
took the
seem
hype
like,
around Michael Myers and just fed it into the movie
yeah,
without really having any context.
exactly. And they really emphasize Halloween 3, like,
Mhm.
the title, because it is technically still part of the franchise. Like that's what John Carpenter made it into be. So people are like, oh, this is gonna be a third Michael Myers movie. So it actually, I think, did pretty decent in the theater in terms of budget, but
No, people
just
were probably
horrible
hyped
reception.
to watch that movie just to be
Yeah,
disappointed whenever it came out
yeah.
because Michael Myers
So
was that dude when it came out.
mhm.
But do you think we should do just a quick rundown of the movie for people who haven't seen it and have no idea what we're
Yeah,
talking about?
yeah, because we're kind of just mentioning like little scenes
Do
here
you
and
want
there.
me to do it
So
since I just watched it like 8 hours ago?
yeah, go ahead. Yeah, go ahead. Take it away.
All right. So I'm not going to include any names because I don't remember everybody's names from the movie. But
Right.
basically, the movie centers around this doctor who is pretty shitty dad. I'll be honest with you. He's a pretty terrible
Yeah.
father. He kind of puts his kids to the side, which, with the events that are going on in the movie, I guess you can kind of see it, but obviously from the way everybody's reacting, like with his ex-wife and stuff, it's not the first time he's done some stuff like this. So he's a pretty terrible dad.
Yeah.
He's a pretty, you know, irresponsible doctor as well. I mean, he's drinking on the job
And he
and
has
stuff.
affairs.
Yeah, and he has affairs and stuff. I mean, he's pretty comfy with everybody. All the females in this movie are pretty comfortable with
Mhm.
this guy. So, but one night while he's there working, this guy is brought in who was in the earlier, like the start of the movie, was being chased by these weird, like, people with suits that are they don't feel like they're human, just the way that they act. You know what I mean? They feel very like just off. There's just something off about them. But he was
Right.
being chased by them and collapsed at this gas station. So they brought him to a hospital where he was being overseen by this doctor and this nurse. And then while the nurse and the doctor were away from the patient, the suit guy comes back into the hospital, gets past everybody, just casually walks in there and
Yeah.
grabs him by his face and separates his skull from his skin, basically. And he just
Right.
is pretty brutal.
Something that's
So yeah,
not human like.
yeah, he's not. He's just like, I don't know. He's insanely strong, and he doesn't act like a person. Anyway, the nurse like walks in, sees that the guy just completely bypasses the nurse and goes down to a car after he was being chased by the doctor, and he pours gasoline, probably like a gallon and a half of gasoline on himself, and blows his car up. So you're getting a lot in the first like 15 minutes of the movie.
Mhm.
But from there, you learn that the guy who was killed has a daughter who was very concerned about the whole thing. Obviously, it's a very strange way for her dad to die. So her and the doctor team up together and go to this small town that is in California where the movie takes place. And they go to the Shamrock place. What is it called? What's the name of it?
It's like Shamrock Novelties,
Something
something
like that.
along those
Yeah.
lines. Basically,
But you
a
can
factory that makes kids Halloween masks.
Yeah, but you can already tell from the moment they go into this town that something's off because there's cameras everywhere. Everybody's like watching them. It's very strange. You see a couple of the suit people, but they pose as a husband and wife and they stay in a local hotel just because they want answers. So they want to go into the factory and kind of get an insight of what's going on in there because they're figuring that that's where all this is coming from. Because
Mhm.
the guy, the father who was killed, was holding this Halloween mask, which is produced by this toy company, and he like wouldn't let it go. So they obviously made that connection there.
Mhm.
For some reason, it feels like less than 24 hours after her father was brutally murdered, she ends up sleeping with this doctor for some reason, and they kind of build a weird little relationship between themselves. And they end up sneaking into the factory with this other family that was in town. And I'm not going to go into a whole bunch of details with the factory, but they basically find out that the plot is these Halloween masks that are being produced have this little chip in them that on Halloween night, when everybody's in front of their TV, all the kids, because that's what's been like there's like been a countdown, like, oh, on Halloween night, be in front of your TV at 8:30, whatever the case is. Like
Mhm.
there's gonna be a drawing for a prize and all this. Whenever that happens, they're gonna mass broadcast this message and this sound, and it's gonna activate the mask, and it like I don't know what it does to
It,
them, but
like,
it like
melts their face. It's
melts their
like yeah.
face down and like it's a gray matter, and then all of a sudden like the entire Amazon jungle of bugs just starts crawling out of their face.
Yeah.
It's crazy. So
Mhm.
they find that out. um but then obviously, with it being a movie, they go and try to foil the plot, which they end up doing. Stonehenge is involved somewhere in there, and then it all comes to a conclusion where the guy, the doctor, ends up getting out and finds out that these people are all robots that the guy
Mhm.
who runs the factory created, and they have like this weird, looks like pumpkin juice or something comes out of them whenever they bleed. But he
Yeah.
finds out they're all, robots. He ends up destroying all of them. The girl that he was with, they ended up turning her into a robot as well, which was that sucks to see. But yeah, so she dies, and then he's trying to stop the broadcast because obviously once
Right.
the
And
broadcast
it's, like,
goes
too
out,
late.
it's the end of the world. Yeah. he like calls this people and he's talking crazy, and they cut off the first broadcast, they cut off the second one, the third one. He's trying to get them to cut it off, but they don't end up doing it. He ends up looking directly into the camera and screaming at us like it's our fault.
Yeah.
And the movie ends. And a part that I did skip over, though, just to touch on it, the whole premise of the movie was the guy who runs the toy shop is Irish, and he is like devoted to the Celtic.
Yeah, it's like a spiritual calling
Yeah, like the
that
Celtic
the motive behind him
ritual.
doing this.
Yeah, he wants to like make a sacrifice to the planets
Mhm.
and all this craziness. So it basically
Yeah,
touches on the fact that
there's a lot of off the
yeah,
wall stuff that happens.
John
Like with the
Carpenter,
explanation.
I guess, especially like with the first Halloween as well, it's kind of explained. I watched a couple interviews with him, and it kind of explains it that he wanted to introduce like the Celtic um tradition that like Halloween night is supposed to be like with evil spirits and stuff. It's like that's what it's
Yep.
about. You know what I mean? Like Halloween is all about that. So that's what Michael Myers is basically. Like in the original
Yep.
ones, he's like just evil. He's just plain
Mm.
evil. Like there's no explanation for what he does. He's just evil.
Yeah, it's just
And
an
that's
evil
why
spirit that
Halloween,
like took
yeah,
over his body.
Halloween night is what makes him
Mm, mm.
like that basically. So they're kind of transitioning that as well more in detail with this movie. And the plot, I will say, it's kind of all over the place towards the beginning, but it all wraps up pretty nicely towards the end.
Yeah.
And you're obviously left on a little bit of a cliffhanger, kind of like with the first Halloween, whenever you don't really get a resolution. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So,
And I think
pretty good
that
movie.
Yeah, I think that that's kind of because the original intent was to make it like an anthology, kind of like with the best way I can like compare it to is like the Goosebumps, like the old school
Hmm.
90s TV show.
Yeah,
Every episode of that show ends with like a cliffhanger. Every single
right.
episode. And
You're not left with a rat. It's not tied up nicely with a
yeah,
bow, and you've got a happy ever after
yeah.
or whatever.
And I think that that's usually what makes that's the whole point of like a lot of anthologies or is that they kind of leave the ending open for discussion to the viewers afterwards like what do you think happens from here, right?
Hmm.
And because the original intent was to make it an anthology, that's why like at the very end of the original Halloween, if you haven't already seen it, spoiler, whenever he gets pushed out the window or shot out the window, like they look down and he's
He's
gone.
gone.
The theme starts playing, the movie ends. There's no explanation of where he went, where he's going. He's just
That
gone.
is
And
my
then,
favorite part, dude, is the ending of that movie. It's
yeah,
so good.
yeah. And like with this one, and I'm not gonna lie, I think what I love about this Halloween 3 movie as well is the ending is so effective to me because the acting is so good. Like the very end when he
Yeah,
is
at the
screaming,
end.
like, stop it, when he's trying to get him to stop the broadcast of the commercial and he's just screaming for them to
Yeah, no.
stop it.
When he looks directly at the
Yeah.
camera, like that part kind of got to me. I was like, "Whoa, buddy!"
And then the movie just
But it was
cuts and
pretty good.
ends, and that's the ending,
Yeah,
right? We're not
you
gonna
don't
get a
get
sequel.
anything.
It's not gonna happen. That's it. And then you're left to assume that the commercial never got stopped and all those, thousands,
So
maybe
all the
millions of
kids,
kids across America died, face melted,
yeah,
everything.
yep,
And that's another thing I kind of wanted to touch on too was this movie was, they went into a very bold direction with the harm on children. And
hmm.
I think that
Oh
when
yeah,
you
no.
watch a horror
When that little
movie,
boy, you see him, you
Mhm.
see the mask take effect. They do it as a test, and they
Yeah,
show the
to
doctor
this
when they
family.
capture him, and it's the whole family,
Right.
and the kid like dude, it was brutal, man. Like
Yeah.
his whole
And this
face
the thing
melts.
too is
He's like
that
shaking, and oh my god,
yeah.
it was crazy.
And that's the thing too is that when you have practical effects in a movie, so much more effective than CGI. I will always stand by that. The practical effects of every like if that was a CGI scene, I would probably look awful. And that's just,
Yeah, no, I
that's
like
just
the
CGI.
practical effects too.
Yeah. But I think that just like the fact that this guy was willing to just melt the faces of millions of children across America, like
For the
just thinking about
sacrifice.
that alone is just crazy because, I feel like that, just like whenever a dog gets hurt or harmed in a movie, nobody likes that. Everyone's like,
Hmm.
everybody, I guarantee, um, if you ask 100 people, 99 of them would say that they prefer a human to die in a movie than a dog. Um, and I feel like that children kids in movies is another one where like nobody wants to see kids get hurt in any kind of movie. And this movie really preys on the idea of killing so many kids on a Halloween night. It's just crazy
Yeah,
to
and
think. Now,
if you haven't
go ahead.
seen the movie, it seems like, oh, like just take off your mask, or like, oh, how many masks could there possibly be? But no, in the
Mhm.
movie it's explained that like having one of these masks is like having an iPhone. Like this is the top notch. This
Yep.
is the real deal. It's the
Yep.
highest selling Halloween costume company in the whole world. They ship
Mhm.
out nationwide. Like everybody wants these masks. It's very
Mhm.
well known. And
And keep in mind,
the
this is early '80s, so this is
mhm,
when the technology was bare, and this is like
right.
what kids wanted for Halloween. Was like this was the hype, the time
Yeah.
period.
Yep. So that's what kind of makes the ending really, really effective, is because when he's screaming like that, like to shut it off, like it really is millions of kids probably that are
Yeah,
gonna get
like
their
he knows
faces
what happens if
melted
they don't
off.
shut it off. Yeah.
And I thought another part of the movie that was really, really good to me, and it kind of shocked me when I first saw it. Do you remember the lady who was next door to the doctor and the
Mhm.
lady?
Whenever she's
And
fiddling with the tag
she's
and it like goes
messing with the
off in her
little
face.
tag thing, and it like zaps her face, and then it
Yeah.
shows her like, and her face is just completely like messed up and
Yeah,
just
like her
gory and
mouth is like
nasty.
completely
Her mouth is
dismembered.
like hanging off,
Yeah.
and then bugs start crawling out of her mouth. Like, dude, that was crazy to me. Like John
Yeah.
Carpenter, he kills it with those kind of effects, dude. He really does. Like
What
even in the
and
thing and stuff like that, like he
Mhm.
kills that.
It's the practical effects make it so much better. I mean, because CGI now depending on the budget of the movie, some CGI does look really, really good. Because if you put in minimum CGI, it's effective. But it's when you
Mhm.
overdo CG, like you can't overdo practical effects. Like you just can't.
Right.
But practical effects, man, they make the scene so much more effective because it looks like it's more disturbing almost.
Yeah,
Because
yeah, it's more
when something
disturbing
is
for sure.
even like CGI blood, like whenever it's digitalized and you can just clearly see it, it kind of becomes a joke. You're like, that's not that looks
Mhm.
really fake. You know what I mean? That's why I
Yeah.
80s horror movies in general, I will always have a respect for 80s horror because of the practical effects. Every 80s horror movie with like even like Nightmare on Elm Street, not to go off on a tangent, but even like Nightmare on Elm Street, all practical effects so effective, like
Really
so
good.
good. So
Yeah.
but what did you think of the score though, man? Like the whenever like something intense is happening and they got like the background like intense music. Like what'd you think of that? Because I thought it was just like in the original Halloween, just as effective. Very good
So I don't
music.
I don't think it's as effective as the original Halloween,
Mhm.
but I
Oh
do
yeah, no,
think
not
that it
as
is still
effective, but
good.
I think that the
Like that's what
score,
makes the movie to me.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah,
Like
yeah. What
I
makes
still
the
think
movie
it's
very
effective enough.
entertaining, yeah, the score and the sound and just the way that they use it is really, really effective.
Mhm.
But I will say nothing is like that original Halloween though. Like
Oh yeah, yeah. The
that
piano. Oh
part
yeah,
is
incredible.
very, very well done. And but with John Carpenter though, with those movies, you're gonna get a lot of that because he works on the score. I'm pretty sure he does. I think he does everything. He directs it. He does the score for it. He does all that stuff.
Yeah,
Um, so he's really effective in that aspect of it. But
and
obviously,
real
with those Halloween
quick
movies, the score
disclaimer.
is gonna be big.
Sorry to cut you off. Quick disclaimer.
You're good.
So when we're talking about John Carpenter here, he is the writer of he's one of the writers of the movie, uncredited, but he is one of the writers. He's in on the production of this movie, but he is not the director like the original Halloween. This is just part of his idea. It's actually Tommy Lee Wallace who is the director.
Oh, that's right.
I just wanted to
That's
throw
right.
that quick disclaimer out there that even though it's not him directing, he's still on the production team and he's still a writer of the script.
He's the
So
main element that makes these movies Halloween movies, like at least the original ones.
yeah, right.
So, but yeah, no,
And
I did like the movie though. I thought it was still really good.
yeah, and I just think like what could have been if it would have succeeded because
Hmm.
I just want to know like because like you look at something like The Thing, right? Like you could have like put something. I'm not saying that whole idea or nothing, but you could have put something like The Thing, like just like some kind of alien force. You don't know what what the hell's going on, and it's taking over bodies, kind of like Invasion of the Body Snatchers a little bit. But you could have turned that into a Halloween movie as well, set in a town, maybe that the people handing out, like the parents handing out candy, like are already like taken over, and they're giving kids like this candy that turns them into aliens or whatever the case. I'm just kind of like going off the dome here. But like, man, I just wonder what could have been if it would have succeeded and we'd have got more anthology like Halloween films. Because don't get me wrong, I like majority love the Halloween franchise, like majority of the movies. It's one of those franchises that has more good than bad for sure. And I love Michael Myers. Like he's very iconic, and I'm glad that, we still get that even to this day. But I do think Halloween 3 was good enough to warrant more movies like it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think so too. And I think it goes back to what I said earlier. It's the time that it came out because,
Mhm.
I mean, obviously, when you've got, Halloween being as effective and as popular as it was because of
Mhm.
Michael Myers, I mean, people, especially companies that are making movies, they're going to want to run with that idea. Like, it is what it
Mhm.
is. You know what I mean? They obviously gave John Carpenter the freedom to make that third movie. And even though we enjoy it now, obviously the public reception of that was not well received when it
Mhm.
first came out because people expected Michael Myers to be in it. So I can't really blame them for running with Michael Myers because obviously, you want to go with what's successful. And I'm, happy that Michael Myers is what he is now. But I do think though, even if the anthology series was to come to fruition, I think Michael Myers would still be just as popular even without all the extra movies
Mhm.
because Michael Myers is just one of those people that he's like a face of horror. And I don't think it's because of Halloween 5. You know what I mean? Or
Yeah.
Halloween 6. I don't think it's
I
because of
think
those
that
movies. It's not because of H2O.
Halloween 3 definitely helped Michael Myers in a sense, because whenever that fourth one was announced and it was labeled as the return of Michael Myers, I mean, let's be real here. Everybody and their mom probably went and saw that because they're like, man, we
Right.
didn't get
He's back.
Michael Myers in the third one, but now he's back. Oh, we're going to see him. You know what I mean? So if
Mhm.
anything, I do think the third movie did help Michael Myers as an icon in that way, because people wanted him so badly that when that return was announced, everybody, like, that fourth movie is still one of the best in the franchise too. I mean, it's still a great
Mhm.
movie as well. But that movie could have been complete garbage, and I think everybody would have
Right.
still went and saw it because of Michael
I like
Myers.
I like all the callbacks in the third Halloween. I like all
Mhm.
the callbacks to the first one.
Like the movie
Like,
trailer of the Halloween
yeah,
movie. Yeah.
that was all super cool. And even
Mhm.
like I didn't even catch this when we were watching it, but Anlin caught it whenever they're watching the commercial for the very first time
Yep.
and it's showing the Shamrock company and it's like has the masks. It's the three main ones, the skull, the
Yeah,
witch,
it's in
and the
Halloween
pumpkin.
Kills.
Yeah, they're like showing that whenever the commercial ends and it like fades to black, there's a small like moment that's like a flash and it shows the Michael Myers mask. It goes like beep,
Yeah.
and it's very
Yeah.
slight. So whenever we watched it, Ellen was like, "What was that?" She like
Yeah, the
was like,
the
"Is that
Leonardo
Michael Myers?"
DiCaprio meme, the
Yeah, yeah. She's
Leonardo
like,
meme where
"Hey,
he's like Yeah.
yeah." I was like, I didn't even see that shit, so I don't know. Like, I wasn't even
If
looking
you
at it
gotta
for
go
that.
back. You gotta go back and rewatch Halloween Kills. I think it's on HBO Max still. You got to,
Hmm.
because if you notice, the three kids that he kills in that movie, the three masks that they're wearing are the Shamrock masks in Halloween
Oh,
3. Like,
really?
there's a callback in Halloween Kills for the third one. So, there's a little Easter
Yeah,
egg there. That's
those
what
are
I thought you were
cool.
gonna say.
No,
Um,
I haven't seen Halloween Kills.
oh, you haven't? Okay, well, go watch that.
I've only seen
Incredible.
Halloween 2018.
Without going on a tangent here, I think in terms of the slasher aspect, like the kills, the Michael Myers himself, very good movie. The script, though, kind of bad. But
Lacking. Like, is
regardless,
it
still
just
fun
like the
enough.
writing and stuff and like the dialogue?
Yeah, because they try to introduce like a mob in the town, and so they're like chanting "Evil dies tonight" like 1,000 times in the movie. It starts to become like
Oh
a little
no.
cringy, but it's arguably the most brutal Michael Myers though.
Oh,
Like,
okay.
it's very, I would say
More brutal
watch it.
than Rob Zombies?
That's why I say arguably, because I still think that Rob Zombies takes
Rob
because
Zombies is pretty brutal.
Rob Zombie in general, all of his movies are just like ridiculous. Like when it comes to the
Mhm.
violence, like,
Yeah.
so especially his sequel, Halloween 2. that Michael Myers, like, I'm sorry, man. I think it's effective. Some people hate it because Michael Myers is supposed to be like completely mute, but I kind of think it makes him like kind of a joke. But like in the second Rob Zombie Halloween, like he grunts when he's killing somebody, like because it's just he's like expressing like the force, and I just think it's so effective because he's still mute because he doesn't talk, but he's still human. So like to
Yeah.
hear him, well, he's supposed to be at least. So to like still hear him like grunt whenever he like goes in on somebody, I'm just like, that's so effective. I think it's effective to me.
I like it too. I understand why in the original Halloween they didn't they didn't try to humanize him in the original one
Mhm.
because he's not supposed to. They don't want you to think that he's just some human guy. They want you to think he's the boogeyman. Yes,
Mhm.
he could be in your closet. Yes, he could be in your hallway waiting. Like that's why you can't see inside the mask most of the time. Like the eye holes are super dark. You're not
Yep.
supposed to see inside there. He doesn't make a lot of noise, if any, at all. You only get to see
Yeah,
him
all
really
you hear
one
is the
time.
breathing. You just hear him breathe
Hmm.
in the mask whenever it goes first
Yeah,
person.
you only get to see him really once, and that's towards the end
Mhm.
whenever she rips the mask off of him, and it's like, whoa, like that's the first time you
Yeah.
really see him as a person. So it was pretty good, though, pretty good.
Well, unless you have anything else to add, I have something to add here to end off the episode. Unless you have
Go
any other
ahead.
thoughts. So,
No, I mean
which
I just really
Halloween?
liked it.
Yeah. So, which Halloween movies have you seen?
I've seen the original John Carpenter. I've seen the beginning of the second one.
Okay.
I just saw the third one, and then I think I've seen the fourth one, but I couldn't tell you what it's about.
Okay. So,
And then
let
I
me
haven't
rephrase. What movies have you seen that, like, right now,
that
if
I
I
could
ask
like
you to,
tell you
you can
about it.
recite? Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So the first one, the third one, the first Rob Zombie, and Halloween 2018.
Okay. So with that being said, we have Halloween 1978, we have Halloween 3 1982, we have Rob Zombie's Halloween 2007, and then we have Halloween 2018. Okay, that's 4 movies. Where would you rank Halloween 3 out of all those? Would you put it in the very back, or do you think it's better as a movie than any of the ones you've seen? I'm just curious where you would put it.
I would probably throw it. Uh,
Now think
I
about it.
really
I know
like
it's not Michael
Halloween
Myers and the other ones
2018.
are, but just as a movie, like where would you
As a
rank it?
movie, I'd probably put it at 3
Okay, that's fair.
for me. I like my
Which one
number
is it above?
one. You're gonna be mad, but I think it's above the
Is it?
Rob Zombie Halloween for me.
God damn it!
Only
Play.
because
I'm
I
just
do
playing.
like it. I do like it. I do like it.
You're
But
dead to me.
I know, but I do really like it. It's just it's at the end of the day, even though it is like a little bit different, it's still like a reimagining of the original one to me.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
I
No,
like
it
the
is.
first one because obviously it's that's my number one. It's super super good. It still holds up today.
Which one?
I
The
like to
original?
watch that one, the original, yeah.
Okay.
And
Yeah,
then
78,
Halloween
yeah.
2018, I also highly enjoyed that. I like how they kind of they kind of took all of the bad Michael Myers movies and just said, okay, those don't
Yeah,
exist.
it's a
We're
direct
just
they
gonna
even took out, Halloween 2. It's a direct sequel.
yeah,
Halloween
from the first
2018
one.
is.
And I think it
Yeah,
was really effective. I really liked it. I watched it in theaters as well, which might add a little
me
bit
too,
to it,
me
but
too.
it was super good. So that's probably how it would go. The original,
Arguably, in my opinion, the second best Michael Myers, like, in terms of,
yeah,
like, just him as a killer, but yeah.
yeah. And I like how he's supposed to be like the original one. Like
Mhm,
that's like the Michael Myers you see in the original 1978 and Halloween 2018. That's the same one. Like that's
mhm,
Michael Myers. You know what I mean?
mhm.
So I like that. I like the continuation. I think they did it really well because that movie could have been so bad,
Yeah, it
but
could have
I
been.
think they were really effective with
It
it.
could have been part of, like, I mean, I don't wanna call it a reboot because it's actually a sequel. I don't even know what to call it, but, like right now we're currently like in a decade, I would say, like within the last 10 years we're in a decade of like a lot of reboots and just like reestablishments of like
Would you like
older
to see
iconic
the third
franchises.
one remade?
Remade, no, but
Maybe reimagined?
maybe reimagined, possibly, but I just don't know how you could do it, you know what I mean? I think that the movie itself holds up well. I still think it's a very, like, interesting movie that just holds up because I don't think it ages badly. Like, yeah, there's some, like, 80s dialogue in there and, like, it's got
Hmm.
it's still 80s. Um, But I don't know. I don't think I would. I don't even think I would even want to see a sequel. I think the ending is incredible. Truthfully, I
Yeah,
do.
I like the way it
My
ended.
personal opinion.
I wouldn't mind seeing it redone in modern, filmography and stuff. Because I like, modern takes on stuff. I think it's really good. And I think that
Yeah.
depending on who made it and if it was given the right care and not rushed, that they could make it and it would be decent. But like you said, though, I think that the original one is still really good on its own. And if they never touch it again and they just leave it how it is, still a good movie in my eyes. You there, buddy?
Difficulties there, a little bit of lag, but
I think I lost you there.
no, I think we're all good now, right?
Yeah, sounds like we're good. We're gonna have to edit that
All
out in
right.
post production.
I don't know. We might just have to keep it because raw footage. No, I'm just playing. But yeah. Overall, though, great movie. I would love to see another Halloween anthology entry. To be honest with you, like that's the answer I have to your question. Is I don't think I would care to see that one done again. But I do think that seeing another Halloween movie without Michael Myers, I would be interested because I'm not gonna lie. After they rebooted him and they made these last three movies, I'm kind of burnt out on him. Like
Mhm.
I just don't know what else you could do. You can only
Yeah,
like he could only come back so many times. Like you know what I mean? Like and now that Jamie Lee Curtis is definitely out of the picture, like what's he gonna come back for?
yeah,
You know?
right.
The whole movie was for him to come back and kill her, and now she's gone. Like she's out of the movies. So, but I would definitely
Mhm,
love to see that. But final question here. I'm going off IMDb. I looked it up before we started this episode.
mhm.
IMDb is, just they calculate their ratings based on personal reviewers, people who just go on there and write reviews. So it's not an accurate rating, but IMDb out of 10 has this movie at a 5.1 as of
Okay.
10/29/2023. Out of 10, what would you rank Halloween 3 right now today? I know you just watched it last night, but what would you rank it? Because IMDb has it as a 5.1. Higher or lower,
Mhm.
and why?
Definitely higher. I think it's sitting right around 7 for me.
Okay.
The thing with the movie that I really like is it does embody the spirit of Halloween pretty well, and it's not a movie that I would go and watch for anything other than, like, the Halloween spirit, you know what I mean? Like,
Mm-hmm.
I think that's what separates it from being a 10 out of 10, which is what the original Halloween would be for me, is because I
Right.
can watch the original Halloween at any point and I will love it. But Halloween 3, I think, is most effective when you watch it with the purpose of trying to get into that Halloween spirit because I think, like, it embodies Halloween better than the original one does. Like, in the
Right.
original
Just
one,
don't
you kind of
expect
forget
Michael
Halloween.
Myers.
Yeah,
Yeah. Just don't expect Michael Myers, and you'll be fine when you watch it.
yeah. Right, right. And
Yeah.
they got the little callbacks here and there of people that, really like the franchise and stuff, which I thought were really good. But if you go in there with a
Right.
blank slate and really just try to absorb the movie for what it is, it's not a bad movie and it's a good Halloween movie.
Mm-hmm. Great. Yeah. That's why I watch it every year on Halloween. It's great.
Hmm.
So, yeah, I'm going to give it a solid, I give it an 8, even though I completely up this movie, but there is a couple things about it that I mean, I like objectively have to recognize flaws in a movie. So I'm gonna give it an 8, but definitely not below an 8. Like even on some days, maybe a 9 or a 10, depending on my mood. But I'll give it an
Wow.
8 because I'm serious, man. I think that like I don't even like to associate it with the franchise because I think that just if they would have called it Season of the Witch, dude, this movie would have done incredible. I really
Yeah.
do. Um, I can't sit here and say that just because it doesn't have Michael Myers and they mislabeled it. I can't sit here and say I can't put it below like an 8, 9, or 10 because I still think that as a standalone movie, it's great for what it's trying to do.
Yeah.
Like I think it's a great movie. And I don't know. Maybe I like it because it's different. I like things that go in different directions, which is the reason why I love the Rob Zombie remake so much. I like movies that try something like franchises that try something different, you know? because whenever you have 13 movies of the same killer over and over again, it's like, when does it end? You know,
Right.
like, when
For
does it
sure.
end? I mean, don't get me wrong, I love slashers and I love large franchises because it's more movies to watch. But when does it end logically? You know,
Right.
like it just kind of
And
drags.
we've seen a lot of franchises take that dive off the deep end. Pretty much all of them, I'll say. So,
Yeah, Nightmare on Elm Street for sure took a turn for the worst, and then
mhm.
Friday the 13th. Other than the fact that they're going through crazy lawsuits, still took a turn for the worst because those movies, and then even Halloween. There was a period of time, dude. I could, man, like Halloween Resurrection. If you want to laugh, watch that. I'm sure Anlin would get a
Right.
kick out of that movie.
Yeah.
You know, so,
Well,
but yeah, but that's pretty much all I have about it. I'm glad that we were able to get this episode going, for the Halloween spirit, and looking forward to recording next week.
yeah, me too, man. I always look forward to recording these, and now that I've got a little bit of a better setup here, hopefully the sound quality is much better. I mean, from what you were telling me, it's pretty good. So I can't
Oh
wait
yeah,
to
way
watch it
better.
back and kind of take a look at how that's going for us, man. And if you haven't seen this movie, definitely give it a try
Hmm.
before Halloween is over. Kind of keep you in that spirit. I think you'll like it. Just go in there, like I said, with a blank slate. Don't expect Michael Myers to be in there because he's not, and just watch the movie for what it is. And I think you'll enjoy it. I really do.
Treat it. This is the thing, is that we kind of went a little bit into the spoilers and everything, but I think there's still plenty we didn't talk about that's in the movie that you can still get enjoyment out of. But go into it like it's a Twilight Zone episode. Like it has
Right.
nothing to do with what it's supposed to be a part of, and it's just like a different universe where like there is this guy, killing kids with Halloween masks. Um,
Yep.
but definitely go into it. Like it's on, I believe Peacock, correct?
Correct.
At the time of this recording, it's on Peacock. So if you have a Peacock membership, definitely go on there and just give it a shot because I really do think it is severely underrated for the Halloween season. So that's all I
For
have left
sure.
to
Let
say
us
about
know
it.
if you do watch it, what you think about it. If you
Hmm.
hate it, let us know. I can totally understand. If you love it, then I'm glad we put you on.
Exactly.
But we'll
But yeah,
definitely
man,
record again next week, man. And I'm always looking forward to doing this with you, man. I always have fun.
yes, sir. Of course, I always look forward to it. But yeah, man, we'll get it going again next week.
I'll see you.
It's almost time, kids. The clock is ticking. Be in front of your TV sets for the horathon. And remember the big giveaway at 9. Don't miss it. And don't forget to wear your masks. The clock is ticking. It's almost time.
Happy, happy Halloween, Halloween, Halloween. Happy, happy Halloween.